The thrust of Guyana's arguments before the International Court of Justice on Tuesday was simple. Venezuela is going to use its referendum on December 3rd as the trigger, the means by which it intends to annex or seize 2/3 of Guyana's territory. And so Guyana has come to the court to seek provisional measures to stop this from happening. Guyana moved to the court in March 2018 for a full and final settlement to the border controversy in which Venezuela rejects the arbitral award made 124 years ago, settling the land boundary between the two countries. But if Venezuela goes ahead with its planned referendum and seeks to enforce it before the court determines the case, then that could mean irreparable damage, even permanent loss of territory, 2/3 of Guyana's territory. And that's why Guyana has urged the court to make a ruling with binding force that would prevent Venezuela from doing anything that would prejudice or thwart the outcome of the substantive case before it.
This is a textbook example of annexation. What else would we call the creation of a new Venezuelan state, comprising the territory, this territory, the conferral of Venezuelan citizenship on its inhabitants, and the incorporation of the new state into Venezuelan territory? What would be the effect on Guyana's rights in that territory, the rights it seeks to confirm in these proceedings after the annexation of the territory by Venezuela takes place? How likely is it that Venezuela will ever reverse its annexation and accept Guyana's sovereignty over the territory, especially after it rejects the court as the means for resolution of this matter? The court has jurisdiction and still has enough time to stop it from occurring.
Mr. Riker presented further evidence to the court, showing videos in which Venezuela is preparing to enforce its referendum using its military. And he also told the court of public statements by Venezuelan officials to this effect.
Venezuela has made clear that after the referendum, it will count on its armed forces to defend its annexation of its new state of Guyana, Essequibo. Military preparations have already begun. This is a map which shows the location on the Venezuelan side of the international boundary, where Venezuelan armed forces are now constructing a military airfield to carry out the government's plans for the Essequibo region of Guyana. And this is an article from a Venezuelan publication quoting Colonel Juan Gutierrez Ortiz that Venezuela is building a landing strip that, quote, will serve as a logistical support point for the integral development of the Essequibo. And next is a video of the actual construction work, concluding with this statement by Colonel Gutierrez Ortiz, as posted on Twitter by the chief of the Operational Strategic Command of the Venezuelan Armed Forces.
La Camorra, en la construcción de la pista de aterrizaje que servirá como punto de apoyo logístico al desarrollo integral de Essequibo.
Quote, I am in the area of integral development of La Camorra in the construction of the airstrip that will serve as a logistical support point for the integral development of the Essequibo. Venezuela's Minister of Defense, General Vladimir Padrino Lopez, has posted a series of videos and tweets emphasizing the readiness of the armed forces to intervene directly following the referendum on 3 December to assert and defend Venezuela's territorial claim to the Essequibo region.
Given these threats, Guyana has asked the court to make a ruling with provisional measures that will prevent Venezuela from going ahead with its referendum on December 3rd in its present form. there are particular concerns about the referendum that Guyana has asked the court to make a ruling on. Let me read those to you. Well, Guyana is requesting the court to indicate the following provisional measures: that Venezuela shall not proceed with the consultative referendum planned for 3rd December in its present form. In particular, Venezuela shall not include the first, third or fifth questions in the consultative referendum because these encroach upon the legal issues to be determined by the court in its judgment, namely the legal validity and binding effect of the 1899 award, sovereignty over the territory between the Essequibo River and the boundary established by the 1899 award and the 1905 agreement, and the purported creation of the state of Guyana Essequibo, and any associated measures, including the granting of Venezuelan citizenship and national identity cards, and that Venezuela shall not take any actions that are intended to prepare or allow the exercise of sovereignty or the de facto control over any territory that was awarded to Guyana in the 1899 arbitral award. And Guyana is further asking the court for Venezuela to refrain from any action which might aggravate or extend the dispute before the court or make it more difficult to resolve. Guyana's agent in this case, Mr. Carl Greenwich, the former Foreign Affairs Minister, addressed the court at the start and closing of the hearings today.
Once Venezuela creates a new state incorporating this territory and grants Venezuelan citizenship to the population, how will this seizure of Guyana's territory be reversed if, in its judgment on the merits, the court rules that the 1899 award is valid and that Guyana is the lawful sovereign? How will Venezuela's actions be reversed and Guyana's rights to the territory be restored if Venezuela rejects the court's jurisdiction and refuses to recognize the validity of its judgment on the merits? As I stand here today, Guyana's right to over 2/3 of its territory are threatened not only by irreparable injury, but by permanent loss.
The court will hear Venezuela on Wednesday for an hour and a half. After that, it will deliberate on the case put forward before it by both Guyana and Venezuela and then make a ruling. Usually in these cases for provisional measures, the court rules within 3 to 4 weeks. Guyana would be hoping sooner because the referendum planned in Venezuela is less than 3 weeks away. Now, as it ruled in a previous case, when the court makes provisional measures, these are binding. Reporting for the newsroom, I'm Neil Marks in The Hague.